Good day, everyone. Our topic for today is about crimes committed by public officers. So if we have to compare this with the previous chapter regarding crimes against fundamental law, yung chapter na yon, although public officers and yung offenders, yung mga kasama doon sa mga krimen na yon ay mga violations enumerated under the Constitution. Whereas here, crimes committed by public officers from the term itself, ang mga offender natin ay public officers din, and they committed the crime by reason of their office or by reason of their public functions. Okay, so start with, we have Article 204 or knowingly rendering unjust judgment. The elements are the following: that the offender is a judge, that he renders a judgment in a case submitted to him for decision, that the judgment is unjust, and that the judge knows his judgment is unjust rather. So here, the offender is the hukom or yung judge na nasa korte. So dito, nag-render siya ng judgment na walang basihan, ng walang batayan, na hindi in accordance with the law or with the jurisprudence. And lastly is that alam niya sa sarili niya na walang batayan yung mga decision niya. So with that, he will be held liable under Article 204 of the Revised Penal Code. Article 205 is judgment rendered through negligence. So the same element lang, but yung pang-apat dito, it is due to his inexcusable negligence. Ibig sabihin, dun kasi sa kabila, deliberate or intentional yung deliberate or intentional yung pag-render niya ng unjust judgment. Dito, yung pag-render niya ng decision is through inexcusable negligence. So, paano natin masasabing merong inexcusable negligence? Halimbawa, si judge hindi siya updated sa mga recent rulings ng Supreme Court. And then, ang ginamit niyang decision pa or basihan ay yung rulings noong 1970. Ganyan. So, it is inexcusable negligence kasi expected sa mga husgado na dapat updated sila sa mga bagong kaso or bagong resolution na meron tayo sa ilalim ng batas. Okay? So, also masasabi nating unjust judgment kapag una, uh, kahit yung mga ordinaryong tao or yung mga lay person, alam nila na merong injustice na nangyari. Kahit wala silang masyadong background tungkol sa batas or tungkol sa mga proseso. Article 206 talks about unjust interlocutory order. So pag sinabi natin interlocutory order, ito yung mga orders na ina-issue ng mga husgado or ng mga hukom in between of the hearing or in between of the trial. Kasi classical class, during the course of the hearing, during course of the trial, yung mga abogado niya ng mga parties mag-file sila ng different motions, halimbawa, motion to file the defendant in default, mga ganyan. So ngayon, if yung order ng judge ay first is manifestly unjust, and pangalawa, it is through inexcusable negligence, then that person or that judge will also be held liable under this particular article. 207 talks about malicious delay in the administration of justice. The elements here are the following. The offender is a judge, that there is a proceeding, that he delays the administration of justice, and that the delay is malicious, and it is caused by the judge with the deliberate intent to inflict damage on either party in the case. Sa practice kasi, although we have rules regarding Speedy Trial Act or continuous trial, sometimes, some cases, and even some courts will take it years talaga para matapos yung isang kasong yan. Pero, kung ang reason naman ay because sobrang dami talagang kaso sa isang court na ito, sa isang sala na to, or si fiscal or si judge ay nagkasakit, or may mga seminar na ina-attendan, then yung mga reasons na yon, those are acceptable. Pero sa article na to, kapag si judge mismo, deliberate or intentional niyang dinedelay yung mga hearing ng isang kaso, halimbawa, may schedule ng April 8. No, so, si judge, galit siya or ayaw niya doon sa taong yon. So, Nireset niya yung kaso ng July. Tapos, came July, ayaw niya ulit. Tapos nireset niya ulit ng October. So, ibig sabihin walang reason on his part kung bakit nagkakaroon ng delay. Pero delay siya ng delay because nga intention or intentional na ginagawa yun ng husgado. So, with that, that judge will be held liable under this article. A208, that refers to the prosecution of offenses. negligence, or tolerance. So, dito, ang offender dito ay isang public officer or a or officer of law who has a duty to cause the prosecution of the offense. Number two, there is the reduction of the duties of his office. That is, knowing the commission of the crime, he does not cause the prosecution of the criminal. And lastly, is that the offender acts with malice and deliberate intent of to favor one of the parties. So dito, ang mga offenders dito ay either the prosecutor, the law enforcement, katulad ng mga pulis, and even the barangay. Kasi may mga kaso na kailangan sumailalim muna sa barangay justice system bago natin isampayan sa piskal or sa korte. Now, halimbawa dito is si Pedro, nag-file siya ng complaint sa fiscal's office. So, pag-file niya ng complaint, naka-attach doon or naka-incorporate doon lahat ng mga affidavits niya, yung mga judicial affidavits, mga witnesses niya, kahit photocopies ng mga object evidence, ganyan. So, despite na sobrang dami niyang evidence, si prosecutor, si fiscal, nag-decide pa rin siya of dismissing the case. Kasi ang intention niya is to favor the other party kasi ka-close niya, kasi kakilala niya. Okay, so ganon, pag ganon yung situation, si fiscal ay maaaring mag-face hindi lamang ng administrative liabilities but also Article 208, which is the prosecution of offenses, negligence, and tolerance. 209 is the betrayal of trust by an attorney or solicitor. Kasi kapag nag-engage ka ng isang lawyer, ibig sabihin meron ng lawyer-client relationship. So lahat ng malalaman ng lawyer na mula sa client, those are confidential. Okay, so hindi yan pwedeng sabihin ng lawyer sa asawa niya or even sa asawa niya, sa anak niya, sa closest friend niya kasi confidential lang yan. So ngayon, kapag yung lawyer, ni-reveal niya yung secret ng client niya or halimbawa, hindi niya na, uh, inalis siya ng client niya, ayaw niya na sa lawyer na yon. So ngayon, yung lawyer na yon, kinuha niya yung case ng kalaban. So, magagamit niya ngayon yung mga information na nakuha niya doon sa previous client. Okay, so yung mga acts na yon, yung lawyer na yun, maaari mag-face ng not only administrative liability, but also criminal liability under 209 of the Revised Penal Code. So, 210 talks about direct bribery. So, we all know about this. So, dito, yung offender dito ay public officer. Pangalawa ay nag-accept siya ng offer, ng gift, ng promise through himself or through by another person, and that such offer or promise be accepted by the public office with the intent or with the view of committing some crime. Number two is that in consideration of the execution of an act which does not constitute a crime, but the act must be unjust. Number three, to refrain from doing something which it is its official duty to do. And then the last element is that the act which the offender agrees to perform or which he executes be connected with the performance of his official duty. So dito, the offender should be a public officer, okay? So that the offender here accepts yung promise na yon or yung gift in consideration, una para gumawa ng krimen, or even if hindi naman siya krimen, unjust siya, or pangatlo ay required siyang gawin yung bagay na yun pero hindi niya ginawa in consideration of that particular gift. Here, even promise are enough. So, the moment the gift is accepted, even if the act is not committed, there's already bribery. Okay? So, ngayon, what if the public officer hindi niya tinanggap yung pera or yung gift na binibigay sa kanya? So, ang magiging liable lang dito ay yung taong nag-a-attempt i-corrupt yung public officer na yon, and then yung kasong isasampa sa kanya ay attempted corruption of public officer. So, halimbawa uh, halimbawa ng first act with the view of committing some crime. Sa courts, may mga staff dyan. May mga court staff dyan. So, sabihin natin si stenographer. So, one of the parties, kinausap si stenographer na ayusin mo or baguhin or i-change mo yung nakalagay doon sa TSN and bibigyan kita ng 10,000. So yung pagbago sa official document is a crime, di ba? Napag-usapan natin yan in the previous chapter. Ngayon, since crime siya and it is in consideration of a money, then si public officer will be held liable for direct bribery. Okay, so second example, in consideration of the execution of an act which does not constitute a crime but the act must be unjust. So halimbawa dito ay yung treasurer ng isang LGU in consideration ng isang regalo siguro, inaward niya yung certain stalls sa market sa mga Chinese instead sa mga Filipino who is more who have better rights than dun sa mga Chinese citizens. And number three, to refrain from doing something which it is his official duty to do. So halimbawa naman, isang isang kumpanya or sabihin natin isang LTO employee ay nagdedemand ng pera sa isang taxi operator para hindi niya sitahin or para hindi hulihin yung business na yon or uh, yung mga drivers ng operator na yon. Okay, so dapat si LTO employee kapag may nakita siyang in violation of the law, kailangan niyang hulihin. Ngayon, in exchange siya para hindi hulihin yung operator or yung mga drivers, humingi siya ng pera. That will also constitute direct bribery. So, Article 211 is indirect bribery. Dito, the elements that the offender is a public officer, that he accepts gift, and that the said gifts are offered to him by reason of his official duty or because of his office. So here, gifts are given to public officer in anticipation of future favor from public office. So, di ba dun sa direct bribery, uh, ano talaga siya, parang required, hindi naman required, parang bibigyan kita ng pera in exchange na gagawin mo to or hindi mo to gagawin. So dito sa indirect bribery, si public officer, tumanggap lang siya ng gift or ng pera by reason of his public office, even though wala namang siyang gagawin. Okay, so kahit na wala siyang gawin, as long as tumanggap siya ng pera because of the public office, then indirect bribery yun. Kaya nga, di ba sa mga government offices, sobrang strict nila sa mga ganyan. Hindi talaga sila tumatanggap ng mga gifts from the people na pumupunta sa kanila. Okay, so qualified bribery here that the offender is a public officer entrusted with law enforcement, that the offender refrains from arresting or prosecuting an offender who has committed a crime punishable by reclusion perpetua or death, and third, that the offender refrains from arresting or prosecuting the offender in consideration of a promise, gift, or present. So, halimbawa, isang pulis, may nahuli silang sindikato, tapos 'di ba life imprisonment kapag halimbawa drug syndicate yan. Tapos in consideration ng pera, hindi nila hinuli or pinalaya na lang nila. That would constitute qualified bribery. Now, Article 212 talks about corruption of public officials. So dito, the offender makes offers or promises or gifts or presents to public officer that the offer or promises are made and or given to the public officer under circumstances that will make the public officer liable for direct bribery or indirect bribery. So, ang offender natin sa article na to ay yung taong nag-o-offer or nagbibigay ng pera or ng gift doon sa public officer. Okay. Okay, so Article 213 talks about frauds against the public treasury and similar offenses. So usually, pasok to dun sa mga internal revenue, sa mga BIR stuff. So yung punishable acts under this article are the following: by entering into an agreement with an interested party or speculator or making use of any other scheme to defraud the government, in dealing with any person with regard to furnishing supplies, the making of a contract, or the adjustment of settlement or accounts relating to public property or funds. Okay, so dinaya mo yung kontrata, yung mga pag-furnish ng mga supplies, ganyan. So iniba mo yung mga price nun. Pasok siya dito sa Article 213. Number two, by demanding directly or indirectly the payment of sums different from or larger than those authorized by law in the collection of taxes, licenses, fees, and other imposts. So halimbawa, sa professional fee, every year ang binabayaran 300 pesos lang. Tapos ang siningil sa'yo ng treasurer 1,000. So, pasok yan dito sa number 2 kasi illegal exaction to. Number 3, by failing voluntarily to issue a receipt as provided by law. So, lahat ng mga transactions na ginagawa natin sa gobyerno, kinakailangan mag-issue sila ng official receipt. Now, if deliberate intent na hindi ka mag-issue para hindi makita sa system na nagbayad ka, then papasok yan sa 213. Number 4, by collecting or receiving directly or indirectly by way of payment or otherwise things or objects of a nature different from that provided by law in the collection of taxes, licenses, fees, and other imposts. Halimbawa, nagbabayad ng tax, so instead of pera ang ibayad, supplies, or sabi natin branded na bag. So, pasok din siya dito sa Article 213. 215, prohibited transactions. Dito kasi, sa commercial law, may mga may mga tao katulad ng mga judge or mga fiscal na hindi inaalaw na magkaroon ng commercial transactions within their jurisdiction. So ngayon, kung isang Manila prosecutor ay halimbawa engaged din siya sa buy and sell ng lupa within Manila, maaring if in violation siya or there would be conflict of interest, maaring pumasok siya dito sa Article 215. Article 217, of course, is malversation of public funds. So, yung elements natin dito ay the offender is a public officer that he had the custody or control of funds or property by reason of his duties. Number 3, that those funds or property were public funds or property for which he was accountable and that he appropriated, took, misappropriated, or consented or through abandonment or negligence permitted another person to take them. So, you know what malversation is? Halimbawa, fund, sabihin kahit sa barangay level lang. Mayroong feeding program amounting to 100,000. Tapos, yung barangay official ang inalat lang nila ay 50,000. Tapos yung kalahati nun, pinagkahatian nila. Pasok yan dito sa malversation of public funds. 218, failure of accountable officer to render accounts. The elements are the following: that the offender is a public officer, whether in the service or separated therefrom, that he must be an accountable officer for public funds and property, that he is required by law or regulation to render accounts to the Commission on Audit, and that he fails to do for a period of 2 months after such accounts should be rendered. So, sa mga government offices, may mga staff or may mga employees dyan required under the law or regulation na mag-audit or magpasa ng mga liquidations about money matters. So, if nirequire siya ng batas or nirequire siya ng mga regulation ng iba't ibang ng mga department, and then hindi siya nag-comply within 2 months, after such accounts, after the demand, then maaaring maging liable siya under 218. Okay, so 219, same lang din siya doon sa 218, required siya na mag-render ng accounts and then lalabas na siya sa bansa without authority from the COA. Okay, so hindi niya pa naliliquidate or hindi niya pa na-account yun sa COA, and then wala siyang authority from the department or from the commission, and then may intent siyang lumabas sa Pilipinas. That is Article 219. Okay, so 220 talks about illegal use of public funds or property. So this is what we call technical malversation. So yung elements dito ay una, that the offender is a public officer, that there is a public fund or property under his administration, that such public fund or property has been appropriated by law or ordinance, that he applies the same to a public use other than that for which such fund or property has been appropriated by law or ordinance. So, halimbawa natin sa isang barangay, si Kapitan, meron siyang 2 million para gumawa ng barangay hall. And then yung 2 million, sabi natin sobra siya. Yung sobra, Sabi natin sobra ng 200,000. So, yung 200,000 ginamit niya para magbigay ng supplies sa mga constituents niya. Nagbigay siya ng mga bigas, ng mga delata, ng mga pagkain, nagpa-feeding program siya. So, ngayon, even if yung sobra niya ay allotted pa rin for public service, but since yung 2 million na yon ay dinassign or it was intended for the creation of the barangay hall, that barangay captain will still be liable under 220 because that constitutes a technical malversation. Okay, so 221, failure to make delivery of public funds or property. So yung element natin that the public officer has a government funds in his possession. Number two, that he is under obligation to make payment for such funds and that he fails to make payment maliciously. So, halimbawa, si government nag, sabi pa, nag-outsource or nag-hire siya ng organizer para i-organize yung isang event. And then, yung tao na may custody ng funds na yon hindi niya binabayad kasi galit siya doon sa organizer. No? So, that will constitute violation of Article 221. Article 223 is conniving with or consenting to evasion. Elements that the offender is a public officer that he had in his custody or charge, a prisoner, either detention prisoner or prisoner by final judgment, that such prisoner escaped from custody and that he was in connivance with the prisoner in the latter's escape. So, yung possible na offender dito ay yung mga warden o yung mga jail officers, no? So, kasi sila yung may custody ng mga persons deprived of liberties. So, yung prisoner dito may be either uh, detention pa lang, ibig sabihin nasa trial pa yung kaso nila or meron ng final judgment. So, yung taong yon or yung prisoner na yon ay nakatakas and yung last element natin ay in connivance or in participation with the jail officer or with the warden. Okay, so Article 224, it is evasion through negligence. So elements natin, the offender is a public officer. He is in charge with the conveyance or custody of a prisoner, either detention or prisoner by final judgment, and that such prisoner escapes through negligence. So, halimbawa, si jail officer, siya yung tagabantay during madaling araw, 1 a.m. hanggang umaga. Tapos, nung bandang 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. nakatulog siya. Nas bukas pala yung ano, yung mga, bukas pala yung lock. So, yung hindi niya chinek na bukas yung lock, that constitutes negligence, and yung nakatulog siya during hours of duty, negligence din siya, then that jail officer will be held liable under Article 224. So, yung 225 naman, escape of prisoner under custody of a person not a public officer. So, kung halimbawa, yung nakahuli doon sa prisoner ay pinagkatawalan muna sa isang private individual yung custody nung prisoner na yon kasi may huhulihin siya. Tapos yung private person na yon, pinatakas niya yung prisoner na yon kasi kakilala niya or kasi naawa siya. Then, yung private person na yon will be held liable under Article 225. Okay, 226 naman talks about removal, concealment, or destruction of documents. Here, the elements are the following. The offender is a public officer that he abstracts, destroy, or conceals documents or papers that the said documents or papers should have been entrusted to such public officer by reason of his office, and that damage, whether serious or not, to a third party or to the public interest should have been caused. So dito, yung removal must be for illegal purpose. So, halimbawa, the single act of retaining the mail without forwarding the letters to the destination, even though without opening them or taking the money, they contain already constitute violation of this particular article. Okay, so Article 227, officer breaking seal. So dito, halimbawa secretary ka and then may pinagkatiwala sa yung envelope na nakasealed. Tapos ikaw, being curious, inopen mo yung seal na yon. you will be held liable under Article 227. So it is sufficient that the seal is broken even if the contents are not tampered with. Okay, so ang pinapaparusahan dito ay yung pag-open mo ng seal. 228 naman, this refers to opening of closed documents. The elements here are the offender is a public officer, that any closed papers, documents, or objects are entrusted to his custody, that he opens or permits to be opened said closed papers, documents, or objects, and that he does not have proper authority to do so. So, ang pinaka-example dito ay yung mga ballot boxes. Sabihin natin yung public officer na yon, inopen niya yung ballot box without authority. So, uh, yung pag-open na yun, yung act na pag-open shall constitute violation of Article 228 of the Revised Penal Code. So, dito naman talks about revelation of secrets by an officer and public officer revealing secrets of private individual. So, yung element ng 229, the offender is a public officer, that he knows a secret by reason of his official duty, that he reveals such secret without authority or justifiable reason, and that damage, great or small, because to the public interest. So, if i-compare natin siya sa espionage, yung espionage, mas malaki yung extent ng damage niya. Whereas dito, kahit maliit na damage or prejudice lang sa government will constitute violation ng Article 229. So, dito naman, public officer revealing secrets of private individual. So, halimbawa, isa kang public, parang psychiatrist sa isang government hospital. Tapos pinagkalat mo na si Pedro, laging pumupunta sa iyo. So, that would entail something, no? Kasi ang meaning nun, kailangan ng taong yon ng sustainable na medical attention. So with that, maaaring may violation siya sa Article 230 ng Revised Penal Code. So Article 230, okay, 234 na ba siya? Okay, 234 talks about refusal to discharge elective office. So yung elements dito ay the offender is elected by popular election to a public office, that he refuses to be sworn in or to discharge the duties of said office, and that there is no legal motive for such refusal to be sworn in or to discharge the duties of the said office. So, yung offender natin dito ay yung elected public officer. So, yung mga appointed, hindi siya pasok dito. So, di ba, kapag na-elect ka as public officer, before ka mag-a-assume ng duty, kailangan mo muna manumpa or mag-take ng oath. Tapos dito, si public officer na na-elect, ayaw niya without justifiable reason na mag-oath. Then, liable siya sa 234. 235 naman talks about maltreatment of prisoners. Yung offender natin ay public officer pa rin, that he has charge of prisoner or detention prisoner, and that he maltreated the prisoner in either of the following manners. Number one, by overdoing himself in the correction or handling of a prisoner or detention prisoner, by imposition of punishment not authorized by the regulation, or by inflicting such punishment and in a humiliating manner. Number two, by maltreating such prisoner to extort or to confession or to obtain some information from prisoner. So yung pagmaltrato, yung pag-torture ng isang prisoner is a human rights violation. No? So, even if may makuha ka niyang confession, hindi pa rin yan admissible sa korte. Kasi nga, it was done in a manner na illegal. At the same time, aside from criminal liability na mahaharap mo, maaari ka rin mag-face ng civil and administrative liability. So, hindi pinahihintulutan yung pagmaltrato or yung pag-torture sa mga prisoner kasi ang inaalaw lang na punishment ng batas ay pagkakakulong. So, halimbawa, uh, yung mga prisoner kinulong mo sa isang maliit na room, or pina, pina sinaktan mo or sinunturon mo, ganyan. So, papasok siya dito sa pagmaltrato sa mga prisoners. 236 talks about anticipation of duties of public officer. Yung elements natin ay the offender is entitled to hold the public office or employment by election or appointment, that the law requires that you should first be sworn in or should first file a bond, that he assumes the performance of the duties and powers of such office, that he has not yet taken his oath of office and or given the bond required by law. So, lahat naman ng public officers before sila mag-a-assume ng office should take an oath. Napag-usapan natin kanina. And then, kapag yung officer na yon ay deliberately ayaw niyang manumpa but at the same time gusto niyang mag-serve or mag-work sa government, then magiging liable siya dito sa Article 236. 237 naman talks about prolonging performance of duties and power. Elements natin, the offender is holding a public office, that the period provided by law, regulation, or special provision for holding such office has already expired, and that he continues to exercise the duties and powers of such office. Halimbawa, appointed officer ka pero co-terminus ka lang. So, kapag nawala yung elected official, dapat na-terminate na rin yung employment mo. So, halimbawa, after hindi na halimbawa, nag-work ka sa isang congressman, and then, nung hindi na siya na-elect ulit, nagkatrabaho ka pa rin. So, maaring pumasok, yung act na yon, maaring pumasok siya sa Article 237 ng RPC. Article 238, abandonment of office. The offender is a public officer, and before the acceptance of his resignation, he abandons his office to the detriment of the public service. So, 239, 240, and 241 talks about usurpation of powers. You know about yung different branch of the government, no? Executive, legislative, and judiciary. So, meron tayong separation of powers. So, sa judiciary, hindi siya pwede mag-encroach sa duties ng executive or ng legislative, and the same goes sa other branch ng government. Now, kapag ginawa nila yon, aside nga from mga liabilities, whether administrative or civil, maaari pa rin silang makasuhan for usurpation of powers. So, meron tayong usurpation of legislative powers, usurpation of executive functions, and usurpation of judicial functions. ISO 242, disobeying request for disqualification. So here the offender is a public officer, that the proceeding is pending before such public officer, that there is a question brought before the public authority regarding their jurisdiction, which is not yet decided, and that he has been lawfully required to refrain from continuing the proceeding that he. So, halimbawa, ang kaso is about agrarian reform. So, there is a question whether or not sa Regional Trial Court or sa Department of Agrarian Reform siya ipa-file. Ngayon, nung isa sa mga parties, nag-file siya ng injunction sa higher court or sa Regional Trial Court para uh, ipastop mo na yung proceeding sa DAR. So, despite the injunction, yung DAR, Department of Agrarian Reform, still continues the proceeding. So with that, the Department of Agrarian Reform or the officers thereof may be held liable under Article 242. Article 244 talks about unlawful appointment, and I think this is the last article under this section. So dito si public officer pa rin yung offender natin, that he nominates or appoints a person to a public office, that such person lacks the legal qualifications therefore, and that such offender knows that his nominee or appointee lacks the qualifications at the time he made the nomination or appointment. So sabihin natin ang hinahanap sa isang office ay attorney 5. So pag attorney 5 ka, dapat yan, parang 3 years of practice of law na ata yung required dyan. Sabihin natin, yung hinire ng public officer na yon ay kakagraduate lang from law school. Tapos hinire siya sa attorney 5. So that, yung appointee na yon ay hindi qualified kasi nga, wala pa siyang, hindi pa siya abogado, and pangalawa, wala pa siyang years of practice. So with that, the yung taong nag-appoint sa kanya ay magiging liable under Article 244. Okay, so that ends the discussion. Thank you.